Ixel, Shashko with the Homo Tisqui, Halkamel the Homo Tistalo. My traditional name is Shashkowit, and the language I speak is Halkamel Ko. And I'm Stalo is a contemporary term to address First Nations people, what's now known as the Fraser Valley. But traditionally, this is my home territory. Skowlitz, we're matrilineal, and this part of the land is where my mother's mother is from. So this is my traditional territory, and this is where I should have grown up. And my name, Shashkowit, really comes from my father's mother's family. So if you know my name, you'll know that we're displaced because the government of the day didn't honor our traditions. Rather, they made the woman move to where the husband was from. So when my mother married my dad, we moved to Ixel. And when I married my husband, I had to move to Ixel, Skowkale. And that's where I'd been married for 43 years. But traditionally, if you married one of our women, you had to move to where the woman was from, because the women carried the teaching and the history and the ceremonies. This is Chehalis Indian Day School. When I started school here in grade 1, there were still nuns teaching, and I was afraid to go to school, if you can imagine, because of all the stories we'd hear about how mean the nuns were. There was no Indian administrators. There was no First Nation teachers. There was no First Nations anything. And it was confusing because we'd come to school and I was reading, this dates me, but about Dick and Jane. Spot was a dog and Puff, right? And you're looking at these pictures, and of course they're all white people. There was no reflection of who we were. We go to high school and it's the same thing. There's nothing that reflects who we are as First Nations. And in the curriculum, when you do read about First Nations, you know, Indians, we were regarded as savages. I remember being happy here until I went to school. The elders that lived here, they were so wonderful. And we spent our time with my grandmother. I was raised hearing the stories, our traditional stories. But then you come to school and there's nothing. By the time I was going to Agassiz High School, I didn't want to be an Indian. I was ashamed to be an Indian. Where does that come from? And the most difficult part is the average Canadian doesn't understand the recent history, our history of what we've been through. And they should. The very first time I was on a canoe, I was 10, maybe 11 years old, and it's the last thing my dad did for me. He was very ill. My dad had chronic pain from arthritis and rheumatism, and so we lost him when he was 36. People were getting ready to go out on the canoes, and he told me, you go down there and you listen to those people. And so there started my training. All I ever heard growing up was encouragement. That's how I was raised. And kindness, that's what I remember. And I was lucky to have been trained by elders from my community. Ed Leon He made me put my arms up, and he felt my arms. And he said, long arms, we're going to put you up at the bow, and I'm going to teach you how to do that. And he did. I've been a canoe puller for 52 years. But I think anybody that's been on a canoe knows what that feeling is. As soon as the weather turns, you want to be on the water. That's where you want to be. And I'd like to go for another 10 years because it's that special. It certainly made me feel like I belonged. And it gives you a sense of identity and a sense of pride. We were champions. One year we won 23 out of 23 races. And that was a highlight in my life because I was racing with my older daughter was on the canoe. And I think she was 13. And now today both my daughters are on the canoe racing and doing really well. I made up my mind that I was going to be happy. I made up my mind I was going to enjoy everything. And I believe that being raised in our traditions gave me that.
Allowing me to make my art.
Lawe swale choala tel squi tel Ixel squa humetlush tel lopit tel mal. Hi. Main message behind my work is discovering who I am. For a long time, I didn't accept being an Indian, and now I know my name is Choala. I'm from Stolo. My mom is from the Thompson area, and I'm proud to say that. Now my connection to the land is seeing the beauty, realizing that there's more out there. Misplaced defined as to put something in the wrong place, to lose something for a short time by forgetting where you put it, to direct a feeling such as trust or confidence toward someone or something that does not deserve it. Art defined as the expression or application of human creative skill and imagination, typically in a visual form such as painting or sculpture, producing works to be appreciated primarily for their beauty or emotional power. As I look at this picture of the elder and the child, I see this oneness with the universe because of the animal spirits that surround them. The ideas run much deeper than the connection of these two people and its oneness with the universe. It is what is lost and must be restored. This art is a display of what was and what it can be, if we believe. I was not part of the 60 scoop, but I did end up in the system. I believe that was the way of life. This was what I seen and who I became. I soon realized that being on welfare and having a child made me seem less than human. I felt like I was on trial when I brought my daughter to the doctor. I was on trial when she missed a day at school, and I was judged when I brought her out in public if she misbehaved. Not to mention being a single Aboriginal welfare mom who could use her status card to get a privilege that is worth pennies at most. What does this have to do with the picture, you ask? Well, the picture depicts the beauty of family, the connection of spiritual oneness, an emotional power that is now lost because of assimilation. Nowadays, we are here to keep up with the Joneses. Technological advances keep us striving for more money, more knowledge, more status, and not from the card that I'm afraid to pull out because of the angry stares when I save my pennies that don't even exist anymore. Assimilation has become a separation of generations that don't know how to talk to each other. There is this new language of blame and shame that only continues the cycle of abuse. There is a missing piece where the experience needs to become a teaching tool in a good, compassionate style of communication that only an elder may possess.
To be proud to be Indigenous, to look people straight in the eye and say, I'm Stolo, and not be afraid of any repercussions.